so out of tune. I'll do some more.
Hi, this is Dan Goldman, CPO at Rhodes. Today I'm taking you through a full Rhodes restoration using Rhodes official spares. Now sit back, relax and enjoy.
Okay, so this note here is what's called choking, where you can kind of hear the note almost cancelling itself out. It's not on every single hit, it's one of the softer ones. So that's an issue with the damper, but you can also hear it's kind of floppy. It doesn't stop dead afterwards. This one's like overly loud on the pickup. This is a bad time, which you can hear the oscillation on the beginning. It's got a wobble on the attack of it. It's not perfectly, if you pick another one that's like nice and clean and pure, whereas this one's kind of like. And then this area, these hammer tips on here, quite hard down the bottom end of the piano, so they sound too bright on the attacks, which makes it sound a bit kind of plucky. That kind of metallic attack is not what you want in the bass. And it kind of cleans up here a little bit. And it sounds a bit dull up here. There's a few notes up here that have got poor sustain as well, which can be down to the grommets or the tines themselves, or needing tone bar clips. That's a bad damper there. The one there. Well past the sell by date, these dampers. Yeah. So this is a old 1970s piano. Over here you normally get the date stamp for the piano up in the top right hand corner on the Harp, which is this sound generating part of the piano, which features the tone bars and the tines which are attached to the tone bars. Quite often people think these are the tines, but they're not. These are actually the tone bars. And this is known as the, it's Harold Rhodes' design, which is the asymmetrical tuning fork, which has two legs, this wider tone bar leg and the tine, which forms the second leg of the tuning fork, basically. So all these visible parts here generate the sound. The hammers hit the tines under here. The dampers stop the tines ringing out, which are these felt pads under here. A tine can't vibrate until the damper releases from the tine. So you can see if I press this G here, that the damper moves away from the tine to allow it to vibrate freely. And as soon as you release the key, it stops it dead. Once the tine is struck by the hammer and the damper releases and lets it vibrate, then that vibration is picked up by these pickups, which are kind of like guitar pickups really. There's one per key. And you can also massively affect the general tone of the piano by moving the pickups further away or closer to the tine. So further away it's quieter and the sound has fewer harmonics. As you bring it in closer, it gets louder and the sound gets richer as the pickup kind of saturates, and you get more sort of pleasing harmonic distortion. That's the basic principle of the Rhodes piano, and that hasn't changed. It's the same in the Mark 8, but now just with uprated materials. This piano has been through the wars a little bit, as you can see. It's had water damage, hence the kind of discoloration and rust on some parts, on the tone bars and on the wood. We're not going to deal with that kind of level of deep restoration on this piano, but we are going to change out parts, give it a kind of ground up overhaul really in terms of the sound generating parts. So yeah, if we just look at the harp a little more closely, in order for the tines to vibrate at their kind of optimum ability, the tuning fork assembly must be able to sort of freely vibrate. These tone bars here are suspended on different strengths of springs throughout the piano, and the different tensions allow the different size of tone bars and tines to vibrate optimally if everything's in good working order. These screws also go through these rubber grommets in between the washers, and which fit through the tone bars, and they essentially allow in combination with the springs, they allow each tone bar and tine assembly to be suspended and essentially decoupled from the rest of the piano, so no other kind of sound or other things can influence that vibration. However, over a number of years, the rubber grommets actually harden and oxidize and kind of end up clamping on the screws, these screws here, these tone bar screws, which can impede the vibration of the parts, and that can affect the general tone, so how barky the piano can be, and how long the notes can sustain for. So notes that are kind of low on sustain, often that's down to grommets that have compressed onto the screws and the springs and stop the parts vibrating freely. So that's the kind of basic thing we're going to be looking at today, but you can see also when the grommets are not in optimum shape, the tone bars can also move left and right a lot, which is no good because you want the tines to be straight on the pickups, centered on the pickups, and not off to one side. If, for example, they're off to one side, they'll sound more like that rather than as it moves out of the zone of the pickup at the front, the sound completely changes. And also the up and down position of the whole assembly, particularly the tine to the pickup, also influences the amount of harmonics. You can hear how it changes there. Obviously when you touch this it mutes it, but you can hear how you get more harmonics as the tine moves closer to the tine moves down, or as you move the tine up, you get more of the fundamental, which is a kind of more pure kind of sine wavy tone. So what I'm going to do today is try and optimize this piano using our new Rhodes Spares, which are over here, and we're going to replace the hammer tips, all the screws and grommets, the damper felts, damper combs, and you'll see a massive difference later on in the video once all these parts have been replaced. We're also going to go through the voicing and the general setup of the piano as well, and how you can do that yourself quite easily. So yeah, we're going to start breaking it all down now and start removing these parts. So now we've talked about the harp and what it contains, the sound generating parts. I'm just going to flip it up, which it flips up on these hinges here, like so. And if you're so inclined, you can actually pluck the tines, without the hammers in the equation. And hear just the raw sound of the tines when they're plucked. This is actually how you would tune the piano as well. So you have the harp flipped up, plug in a tuner, and you move these tuning springs, which are these tightly coiled springs that hug the tines. You move those up and down to make the notes sharper or flatter. So you can see the underside of the pickups here, and the underside of the tines. Now this is the kind of inner guts of the piano, what we call the action, which are the mechanical parts that hit the tines and damp the tines. Here, let's start from the ground up. So you got your keys. When you press the key, it's essentially a lever that pushes the hammer up. As the hammer is pushed up, and these are different hardnesses of hammer tips, which range from softer at the bottom to the hardest ones at the top. On this one, these are actually called wood core tips, and they have like a core of wood. In the middle, you need harder tips at the top of the piano to actuate the much shorter tines. If the tips are short up there, then the tines don't really ring out. You just need that hardness from the hammer tips up there so you can actually get the tone that you want. These are neoprene hammer tips on this. These were installed a few years ago, but they're not particularly even sounding. They're graduated in height, which some people like, but I like to have tips that are all one height because you get a much more consistent setup with the piano. And so the Rhodes official spare tips are all one height. The hammers are plastic injection molded parts. And at the back of the hammer, you can't actually see it from there, but from here you can see these what we call bridle straps. And the bridle strap hooks onto a little hook on the bottom of the damper arms here. These are actually modular damper combs. So each one is an octave strip of aluminium combs. And these are made from an aerospace aluminium, which they have a nice combination of strength and lightness as well. The dampers are the kind of the biggest thing in the piano that influence the touch of the piano. So if there's too much tension in these, which are essentially leaf springs, then you feel it through the keyboard as well. This piano is very inconsistent in its response because the dampers are past the sell-by date and have weakened over a number of years. So you don't get a nice sort of punchy damping. There's a lot of hammer bounce. So by installing like new official Rhodes damper combs, you can put that tension back and accurately kind of nuance it in during the setup stage to get a really tight response. So when you release a key, it doesn't wobble or bounce, and you get a real nice, strong, clean note off, which is really important to a piano sounding its best. These felts as well, there's a lot of wobble in them. Some of them are coming unglued, as you can see here. And these are quite thick as well, which can get in the way of the pickups and the tine vibrating. So we're going to change all these out as well. And some of these, you can see they're starting to disintegrate at the bottom where they're fixed, which means they kind of flop left or right as well, and can end up missing tines and not stopping them properly as well. You can see some of the dampers, when I was doing the note playthrough before, some of the dampers have got kind of like a wobble after you release the note, and those are the ones which actually like haven't got enough tension in them, where they're kind of wobbling like that. But a good damper, there's a few still in here, miraculously. These ones will snap back very quickly and stop the tines. So there's a big difference between that, for example, and that. So we're going to correct all of that as well. One other thing to mention, if you flip the Harp forward, get a better view of the damper combs. This is called the damper release bar, and that, or the damper rail, and that pushes all the dampers out of the way if you want to, when you press the pedal. So it's linked to the pedal. So if I press the pedal down here, that bar pushes all the dampers away from the tines, so you can do a full glissando if the harp was down. Yeah, so that allows you to release damping on all the notes at once.